Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bunny Cakes and welcome to my channel for the first time if you're new here. Today I am going to be reviewing Blood Magic, Book 3 of the Cousins O'Dwyer trilogy by Nora Roberts. Let me see if I can get my Kindle to show up today. There we go. Okay. So this book, I've got mixed feelings about it. I really liked the story of the trilogy, and I liked the cousins and the growth, and I liked that this finally focused on the third cousin Brenna and her relationship with Finn. But there was a lot of it that was just slow and it slogged on. It was a whole lot of let's talk this to death while I do chores and cook and do stuff for my business, and like occasionally they would research, but they weren't so much building towards anything new. They were just going back over and rehashing what they've already done for the most part. Towards the end they start to cover some new ground, and the final battle was really satisfying. But as a whole, this book just felt slow, especially compared to the other two. And because, as with the other two, but to a deeper extent, they didn't really do anything new until almost the end of the book. In the final chapter, they came up with all these new ideas, and this is how we're going to defeat the bad guy, and blah 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 blah. And it's great, but I wish more of that had been sprinkled through the rest of the book rather than spending so much time cooking and cleaning Brenna's house. I mean, they could even have gone back like they did with the first book and brought the previous generation of cousins in more, and they didn't, and I think that helped the second book a lot, and I think it might have helped break up the monotony of this book a little bit more. So I think I gave this like 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I'm not upset for having read the story, but I wish this final installment had just been a bit better compared to the rest of them. And yep, I recommend it if you want some light, fluffy, romancy type stuff. Though this book wasn't as romancy, and there was a whole lot more sex. Not well written sex either. Um, like it was just like kind of flowery sex that had some really weird dialogue in it, and also magic spells, because why not? um and yeah, not my favorite book ever. I'm kind of glad to be done with the series. It does also kind of leave you wanting more, to know some more of the story, because there are some overreaching storylines that you never get to. Like, since the end of the second book, they keep talking about one of the characters' weddings that's supposed to happen in the spring after they defeat the bad guy. Never happens. And in this book, there is a second wedding that is potentially being planned, and nothing really happens with that either. And I feel like that was also, it's something that they could have used to celebrate more in the end. As a final huzzah party, we're taking our lives back kind of situation, and she just didn't do it. I don't know if she's intending to write more books to continue the series, or if she did. This came out in 2014, so I would imagine that if she did, there would be more books by now, and I just haven't researched it. I almost kind of hope that she does, but also I'm not so invested in these characters anymore that I would even care to read more unless I find a book and the synopsis seems really, really interesting. Mostly I ended up just reading this story. Well, the first one I read because I didn't realize it was kind of a romance-esque piece of fantasy. And then I just ended up really liking the story for the first book, Dark Witch. So I ended up finding the second book, and then of course 2 out of 3 I might as well finish. And I actually quite liked the second book. It's just this third book left me wanting more, pretty much. Um, and yeah, so I was kind of disappointed in it, and I wanted to see more from it. And even if it had just been 1 chapter longer, I think it could have saved my opinion of the book a little bit more. I would have still felt the slog in the beginning, but if she had just wrapped up even that wedding storyline, I think it would have helped so much. Um, so overall, for this book, 3 out of 5. For the series, I would say about 4 out of 5. It's worth a read, especially if you need something fluffy to go in between, like your thrillers and your true crime, or your deeper contemporary or whatever. Just something easy to get through. The first 2 books are really easy to get through. I read them really fast. This last one, it took me a little bit longer just because I kept getting into that boredom. I just kept finding myself going, "Oh, they're gonna make dinner again. Awesome." And they're going to overly and yet underly explain the cooking process. Underly, that's a word now. Um, which was also weird. As somebody who likes to cook, they were talking about this food, and like they would over explain what the characters were doing, but she also under explained what the characters were doing, so you couldn't quite follow. Like it to an extent, they just magicked up the recipe. They would peel potatoes and chunk a chicken in a pot, and bam, beef bourguignon. Yeah, it was weird like that. And like it wouldn't switch meats or whatever, but it would go from like just I chunked a chicken in a pot to this gourmet meal. And even though she overly explained the preparation, like of like she would overly explain chopping the potatoes up, but not really explain, other than popping a chicken in the oven, how that came to be, which I found annoying. Just because I'm like, okay, so you're describing this amazing meal, and I kind of want to know what it tastes like. So, like, if you could explain it just a little bit more so I can get in my head what this is supposed to taste like, it would be great. Because I'm very much a type of person, because I relate to food as somebody who likes to eat, clearly, um, and somebody who likes to cook. Um, when books talk about food, sometimes I can almost experience what the characters are experiencing as they eat as well. And I kind of wanted a little bit of that, just a little bit more, especially since she was going to go so deeply into describing how to cut up potatoes. I know what potatoes taste like. I mean, I like potatoes. They're great and all, but it's weird how much she focused on that. And I almost think it was written um kind of like how you'll see sex written in novels, like romance novels, the bodice rippers, when the romance novel is actually written by a man, sometimes pretending to be a woman, and they describe a sex scene from a woman's point of view. You can really tell that this person has never had sex as a female before. The cooking was described kind of in that way, like she has an interest in food and she wanted that to be a part of it, but she doesn't really have much of a concept of how to cook food beyond apparently potatoes. And I get they're Irish and they eat a lot of potatoes, but I could have done with some description if we were going to focus on that, some description of how to cook the other food. Anyway, now I'm just tangenting and nitpicking. I did, for the most part, like the book. There's just bits I would have liked with some tweaks. Um, I recommend the series as a whole. Um, but again, it's more for, in my opinion, it's more for like fluff reading in between the deeper stuff that you like to read. But that's all I have for this review. Also, you'll notice I have some new set members. I got Baby Yoda today, and I've got Jane and Vivian, my unicorn rubber duckies, and this unicorn lamp right here, he doesn't have a name yet. And Of course, there's Twitchy, who's been here for a while, and the little sad Jelly Bean, who you can barely see. Let me fix that. Come up here, Jelly Bean. There. Oh, no, no, no. There we go. He'll go right there for now, behind the mic. Anyway, I'm going to figure out how all this works eventually. I need more space is what I need, and one day I'll figure that out. Anyway, thank you for watching. Stay safe out there. Remember to continue to practice social distancing, wash your hands. Even though restrictions are lifting, you should probably still avoid going out whenever possible. There's people and germs out there. Stay home and watch booktube and read books. It's better for you. Right now it's healthy. Reading is healthy for you today. So again, thank you for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button down below. If you like my channel, subscribe. And leave me a comment if you've read this book. Tell me what you think about it. And if you're interested in reading the series, tell me about that as well. So thank you for watching and have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.